our coaching and action workshop. And thanks for your patience as we open the waiting room a little bit after 12 today. As you know, this series provides a brief experiential exploration of leadership coaching, where we'll learn together about the foundations of coach education, all centered around well-being. Just a few housekeeping notes. We are recording today's session, so if you prefer that your image or voice is not included, please adjust your Zoom settings accordingly. Our team will be monitoring the chat, so please feel free to ask questions and offer comments there in that space. Today, we have a very special workshop entitled Surprise, You've Been Scarfed by AI, which is facilitated by Mike Rochelle, who is an ICF Master Certified Coach. He's also a coaching fellow with our Center for the Advancement of Wellbeing and a highly sought after leadership facilitator and consultant. So, thank you so much for hosting today, Mike. And I will go ahead and turn it over to you for this great session.
Well, thank you, Sonia. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. And it's really a pleasure to see some of these familiar faces popping up on my screen here. And I want to call out Kenny Lehman, a dear friend and fellow MCC coach. Congratulations recently on your MCC credential, Kenny. All the best.
That's very, very kind, Mike. Thank you.
And I haven't seen where'd she go? She just popped. Oh, there she is, Kristen Story. I haven't seen Kristen in forever. We're going to do a very interactive time today on the subject that many of you are familiar with. Welcome, Jackie. Many of you are familiar with the SCARF term if you are Mason graduates, but we're going to take a slightly different spin on it today. I was shocked when Elizabeth said that we had about 138 people who signed up for this thing. I was thinking maybe 12 at best. And right now, I think we have 45 participants. It's still quite shocking. Before we get started on the subject of SCARF, though, customarily in the Mason community, we always begin with a little bit of a mindful attunement. A mindful attunement. And the one that I've selected for today comes from Heart Math, which is one of my favorites. And I'm going to invite you to get very comfortable in your chairs. Make sure that you are acknowledging and recognizing where you are and your posture so that you are perfectly balanced on your sit bones, your back is straight. You're not leaning to one side or the other. You're centered and your head is balanced on your neck and shoulders. Feel free to keep your eyes open if you wish. And just take a couple of deep breaths. Some of us are coming to this from frenetic activities. So let's just take a couple of deep breaths, deeper than usual. Notice the temperature of the air as it enters your nostrils. Just notice. And now I invite you to focus your attention on the area of your heart. And imagine that you're breathing in and out through your heart. It may help if, as some of you will recall, it may help if you want to place your hand over your heart to help draw your attention there, but it's not necessary, only an option. Breathe in and out through your heart. And on the next inhale, focus your attention on someone or something, a pet perhaps, that you love. Focus on a loved one, loved one. And when you're ready, come back into the room. Welcome back. Welcome back. Jim Sims, welcome, my friend. Anyone care to share how that landed for you? Heart-focused breathing? Anyone? Ah, Dorian, very calming. Thank you. Anyone else? Quieting. Thank you, Jim. Jan Devitt, where are you? I don't see you. Bless your heart.
Hey, Mike, Kristen here.
Yes.
This took me back to my GMU days where we would start. Pam Patterson's here. I,
Yes.
when Pam would do the all-time soothing startup of this. So, and I feel very centered again.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that, Kristen. Thank you for sharing it. It really is important, I think, when coaches come together in a space like this, to recognize that everyone's not coming in a very centered, grounded state of mind. I actually contemplated doing a Corinthus check-in process, but if you're not familiar with it, it can be disorienting just a bit. So I opted not to do that. Something that Alex Kaye, who I've trained with for years, always takes us through at the beginning of one of his sessions. And thank you for participating with that. Kenny, did you want to add something? Oh, yes, sir. Kenny.
You know, in Afghanistan, they do this. So I
Yes,
had already
yes,
begun
yes.
that before you invited us. And then you said, you invited us to stop and think of someone we love. This is my
Hmm.
first GMU experience like this. And it's so
Welcome.
exciting to see a room filled with people I love. And
Thank you.
and you know a lot of them. So
I do.
yeah, so thank you.
We're delighted you're here, Kenny. Really are. And people are still arriving. Unfortunately, some may have missed the mindful attunement. Mindful attunement. Let me start by just simply saying that if you are unfamiliar with SCARF, and I just want to get a sense of the number of people who are new to the subject of SCARF, uh, raise your hands if you would, please, just to, oh, good. Excellent. Excellent. Oh, that's fantastic. That's even better than I anticipated. Welcome, Natasha. Yeah, excellent.
Yeah.
Well, let me start then with a slight discussion about the Neuro Leadership Institute, founded by Dr. David Rock in California. I was introduced to the Neuro Leadership Institute by my dear friend and wonderful colleague, Dr. Pam Patterson, actually, who also introduced me to heart math. I was so impressed when I went early on in the leadership coaching for organizational well-being, how reactive I could be to a heart math centering exercise that Dr. Pam would do with every cohort going through the leadership coaching program. I committed to taking that training and certification myself, and I've never regretted it. But back to the Neuro Leadership Institute. Dr. David Rock is the original founder of SCARF. So let me share my screen here, and we're going to get started on SCARF. Surprise, you've been scarfed. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Great. Okay. Let me come back to, I'm trying to advance my slide here and it won't move. While I'm finding out what's wrong with my slide advancement here, let me, that's not it. Let me talk a little bit about SCARF here we are, from the perspective of, again, I want to really hit the point that this is the work of the remarkably talented Dr. David Rock. And you can take one of his offerings quite free anytime. He invites lots of thought-provoking thought leaders on the subject of neuro leadership and neuro linguistics into his forums that he hosts monthly. And I've participated in a number of them. But what is SCARF and what is the SCARF model? This slide shows you what my objectives are for today in terms of the purpose for this, to introduce you to the SCARF model, give some indications of how it tends to show up, link it to what is really quite prevalent in our world today around artificial intelligence and how I'm seeing clients that I'm working with coming into a session talking about AI through the lens of SCARF without knowing that they're speaking to it through the lens of SCARF. But I'm hearing it because I'm familiar with the mnemonic: status, certainty, autonomy, relatedness, and fairness. Once again, status, certainty, autonomy, relatedness, and excuse me, and fairness. Learning outcomes. For those who are familiar with it, we'll revisit it just a little bit, perhaps update it somewhat, and then articulate how it shows up in people who are scarfed, either in their organizational context, in their team contexts, or vis-a-vis artificial intelligence in their workplace. We're going to talk about it. You'll come up with a couple of coaching moves, which is the way I've laid this presentation out, around SCARF when you hear it. And then we'll reflect on how you as the practitioner reflect upon your coaching moves. And I'm going to take you through a little bit of reflective practice here because that is one of our commitments under coaching competency number 2, to have an active and effective reflective practice as ICF coaches. Jumping right into SCARF and the model. Take a look at this. I'm going to talk a little bit about it at a very high level. We're going to break out in just a few minutes to put you into breakouts on this. And you will have a something in the link when I get done with this particular slide. We'll drop something in the link for you to take into the breakout session. Status. Let me go back to SCAR first. Certainty, autonomy, excuse me, status, certainty, autonomy, relatedness, and fairness. SCARF. What happens when we are threatened by in our sense of status? Humans tend to withdraw from that environment, whether it is a small team, a corporate environment, a social club, even. If my status or the way I perceive my status is threatened by that entity, I withdraw. On the other hand, if my status is recognized, respected, and I am acknowledged in whatever that status is, male, female, it doesn't matter. You name it, it applies. Then I am drawn to that. What just happened? I am drawn to that environment. Are you still seeing my screen? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Just want to double check. Certainty. I want to be able to be, I want to be able to be predictable or to know and be able to anticipate in my environment, in my setting, whether it's a work setting, a small group setting, or a corporate setting. If you tell me that our organization is, and we all live this, if you tell me my organization is one that respects individuality, creativity, you name the quality, I want to be able to see that. I want to be able to experience that. I want to be able to feel it. If I don't, I'm threatened because that is one of my values, some degree of certainty. And we all have all of these qualities, status, certainty, autonomy, relatedness, and fairness, but they're not in necessarily equal quantities, if you will, or strengths. If you are granting me that degree of certainty by your policies, by your actions, by your words, then I'm replenished by that and I'm drawn into that particular circle. The same is true for autonomy and moving on to relatedness and then fairness. Let me hit relatedness for a minute because that is where a sense of belonging resides in the Dr. David Rock model of SCARF. If I am feeling that my personal well-being and you're valuing me as a part of this organization or a part of this entity, then I am feeling replenished by that connection, by that sense of belonging. Conversely, if I'm not respected, if I'm not acknowledged for the things that I bring into this group or to this environment, you're not gonna have my full buy-in, my full uh, my you're not gonna reap all of my full energies and benefits. I'm going to stop there and ask. I'm going to stop sharing for just a minute, and I'm going to ask Elizabeth if she would put into the chat the document that we spoke about earlier. And I'm going to open up for just a couple of thoughts or questions from anyone before we go into a breakout. And then I will scope the breakout design before we go into breakout. Thoughts or questions from anyone? We are now at 51 participants. And oh, I see there's some things in the chat too. Thoughts, anyone? Comments? That's the SCARF bottle in brief. No one? Okay. In that case, let me go back to share. I'm going to show you what will be in the chat and give you the details on the breakout. This is a spreadsheet, if you will, that takes the SCARF model and invites you in small groups. I think we're going to try groups of four for about 8 minutes to come up with, on the left-hand side of the column, a threat response that you may hear in a coaching conversation that alerts you. You're not diagnosing. Don't misunderstand me here. But you are hearing something that sounds like it may be a threat to your client's status or certainty or his or her autonomy. I'll give you a classic example. When we do this in leadership coaching for organizational well-being at George Mason, we invite the coaches going through training to identify their most easily triggered scarf mnemonic. Mine is autonomy. And let me tell you why that is. Whenever I was in the Pentagon, I felt like a caged rat because you can't make decisions. You make recommendations, lots of recommendations, no decisions. And that degree of micromanagement of process rubs me the wrong way every time, every day. So autonomy would be mine. And that's the over management, the over articulation, the uh, over, basically over managing. What are we going to invite you to do is, what might you hear? Come up with one or two examples of what you might hear for a scarf mnemonic. And whatever mnemonic you select in your breakout mnemonics you select, also think about a way to make a coaching move to bring client awareness to that. You're not diagnosing, you're not problem solving, you're actively listening, and now you're engaging with your coaching curiosity. You might ask, what does that feel like? I'm not trying to do this for you, but that's the game. And is that already in the chat, Elizabeth? I'm going to stop sharing.
Yeah, it's in the chat.
Okay, perfect. Questions about the breakout, please. We're going to have two breakouts if time permits today, and so this is going to be quick. Come up with give us an example of what you think you might hear. Some of you have heard it already. I have no doubt about that. Some of you coaches have heard it in spades already. No questions? Let's go into chat. Excuse me, let's go into breakout. 8 minutes, please. Thoughts or reflections on that brief breakout session? Insights, please. Just take yourself off mute and offer for the benefit of the gathering.
I'll kick things off. So in our group, some of the triggers or things that we could be aware of and listening for is people expressing resistance, like they're being asked to do things and they don't want to do it. Fear, anxiety about change. And as far as coaching moves, what we talked about was curiosity and just encouraging curiosity, like the exploration of, let's understand, what are the risks, what are the benefits, what's the facts, what's the fiction. And then the other thing is authenticity, because, as you kind of explore AI, there is a risk of you losing the human interaction and the human element. So really just a focus on helping people identify, like, with this new technology, who do you aspire to be and how do you bring that to life?
Nice, Dorian. Very nice. Anyone else care to add to that? That's very, very good. We're gonna soon take another spin on this scarf matter, but through the lens of reflective practice. What I'm going to share with you is a document which you'll have at the end of this presentation, and it's it's my ideas of why isn't it sharing? Of what you might see or hear. Can you see that? Are you
Yes, we can
Yes.
see a chart.
okay? Perfect. It's it's not intended to be an end all be all, but these are the kinds of things around the SCARF model, excuse me, around artificial intelligence, which right now in my practice is everyone's bringing something to the table. Either they love it or they're threatened and frightened to death by it in terms of how it will affect them in one or more of these SCARF mnemonics. I'm going to stop sharing that and take us to another aspect of this. We're going to flip the script just a bit because now I want you to think about your reflective practice relative to the SCARF model. And now we're going to open the lens just a bit more to include AI and anything else that will tend to trigger you as coach during a coaching conversation where your status becomes activated. Your scarf mnemonic of status becomes activated. Your scarf mnemonic of uh, certainty, autonomy, relatedness. This is where we as coaches have, in many cases, need to grow. And I just want to share with you that this particular author, he's deceased now, was instrumental to me in understanding my reflective practice, and it was really instrumental in getting to the level of MCC for me. I can't overemphasize that enough. I simply cannot. The reflective practice where I'm looking inward and I'm asking myself, why did I respond to that client's comment from this direction? What does that say about me? So now we're going to go back into breakout. Second breakout. I'm going to stop sharing. This is my last slide. I've got questions about what I'm asking you to do. This is competency number 2 now. Your reflective practice as a coach. As Donald Schoen would say, there is reflecting on the practice, which means you're looking at yourself after the fact and you're asking, when my client said this, or when my client brought this issue to the table, why did I feel or why did I have this somatic reaction? What am I to learn about that, about myself? That's reflecting on the practice after the fact. We all do that, relatively speaking. Some of us do it better than others. Here's the other piece, though. Schoen takes us through reflecting in the practice, meaning you're able to do that in the moment. In the moment. You hear yourself, you feel yourself, and you're able to regulate. Is that the move I want to make? Why is that the move I want to make? That's the growth. And in this breakout, another 8 minutes, I'd like you to just share. What do you notice more often than not that comes up for you, coach, in the SCARF model that bears reflecting on the practice, reflecting in the practice? Elizabeth, please, 8 minutes into breakout. Welcome back. How was that? What did you get out of that? Just some comments, please.
It was challenging, if I may share, because
As
I
a
had, yeah. So being familiar with the SCARF model, having gone through the GMU program, I was aware of it, but it was challenging to apply it when reflecting uh, on, or even more reflecting in the process. So it was like, okay, now how do I do that? So I need more than 8 minutes to just reflect on that.
Anyone? Thank you, Ezra. Great to see you again, too.
Thank
Kristen,
you.
Kristen.
So this is what we had different examples, me as a coach, my breakout partners, in their leadership roles. And so anyway, there were some great examples shared where, they get, if you will, triggered, they have their scarf moments. And
Mhm.
so, but it made me go back to something because, so just so everybody knows, Mike Rochelle is my beloved mentor coach, and I still keep him whether he wants me or not. So anyway, but Mike, it took me a long time to figure this out, but I remember you would say this frequently, and though you didn't use the word scarf, but you always said, the coach is always the wild card going into a coaching conversation. And though it took me a long time to figure that out, it wasn't until I kind of moved farther in my own practice and research into helping people. But it was like, oh, it's me. I'm the one who has to really be conscious about how about what's, I call them triggers, like, but what my sort of responses are, so that I can, right, keep that neutral open space. It only took me 3 years, Mike, but I got there.
Thank you, Kristen. Someone else, please. I'm looking at John Boggs smiling, that knowing smile. Anyone?
Well, I shared with the group that I had gone so far as to create a coaching bot, a John
Oh,
Boggs AI bot, and sunk a lot of money, a lot of time in it, and have found, particularly from our perspective, that it was not, my clients really didn't relate well to it. Um, and was I being fair to my client? I felt the status. I felt like, hey, I'm really on top of things. I'm head of the curve. I'm on top of all of this stuff, and I was really certain about it. And oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, boy was I wrong. It was I've had it for 2 years. I've had 3 clients that have used it. They've, each one has used it once, and they came back with, John, it was you. It was you. I was talking to you. It sounded like you. It looked like you. Your mannerisms, everything. But I don't think I'll do that again because I really want to talk to you. So, okay, I understand, no problem. But um, note to self. Note to self, your clients really it's your client. This is about the client, and the client really didn't want it. Now, and Jim said something really, I thought, very appropriate. I think it was Jim, it might have been Marlene, about the age difference. That younger people can talk to AI bots from now until the cow comes home. They can AI you to death. But my clients were in the 40 range and up, and they didn't go for it. So maybe it was that.
Thanks for sharing, John. Thanks for sharing. Anyone else before I turn it back over with a closing comment, and then I'll turn it back over to the CWB team. What did you learn? Different question. What did you learn, or by way of insight, as you discussed the reflecting on the practice and subsequently reflecting in the practice? What insight did you gain there? Kenny.
Well, I had the benefit of having Mike in our breakout room. So, with Jackie, we had a good discussion regarding the distinction. And the one thing I took away was, well, the first thing I asked was, okay, if I'm going to self-interrupt and focus in the moment and try to reflect in the moment, then is that going to deflect me from being with the client? And in fact, what we came away with in our discussion was it gives us the opportunity to step even more into the full element of what's going on with the client. I am hearing you, I am hearing all of you, I am really feeling what's going on. And so my initial experience was concerned that I might step out of a coaching mindset, but in fact, in discussing it with Mike and Jackie, realized that I step in even more deeply when I stop and hear what's going on and feel what's going on in the moment. It was a really important, powerful distinction for me because, right, we all want to be with the client 100%, right, at that level 3 listening at all times. But I thought, well, maybe by doing the reflecting in, that might somehow get disconnected. And I learned that in fact, it expands the broadband, it expands the wavelength. And that was a huge, powerful takeaway.
Thank you, Kenny. Thank you very much. Well, we're almost at the top of the hour. And let me just thank everyone who is here. Some folks had to leave. But I appreciate the participation. Thank you so very much for it. The real learning occurs in the breakouts when you're talking amongst one another, peer to peer, coach to coach, and you're sharing your insights and you're sharing your questions and providing answers to those questions to one another. And I'm grateful for the opportunity to have spent this hour with you. So thank you very much indeed. I'm going to turn it back over to CWB team. Sonia, Elizabeth, thank you very much. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Mike. You have some kudos in the chat. People were using their reactions. So thank you so much for such an engaging and relevant topic today. Maybe there will be a part 2 in the future. No pressure, but I think people would be interested in that. Um, so thank you all for attending this great session today. I just dropped a link for our evaluation. We always want to hear from you to let us know your thoughts about today's experience. So please take about 90 seconds to complete our very short program evaluation. Um, Next up, if you're interested in becoming an ICF certified leadership coach, or you know someone else who is, we invite you to learn more about our leadership coaching for organizational well-being program, which is currently accepting applications until August 14th. I'll shortly add a link in the chat that you could share to learn a little bit more about that program. Also, if you found today's session interesting and valuable, please join us and invite a friend or colleague to do so as well for our next Coaching in Action workshop, which will take place on Monday, August 10th, with Dr. Pam Patterson and Ellen Fulton, and their session is entitled Listening Beyond Words. So thank you again so much for joining us today, and we wish you all a fantastic rest of the afternoon. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, everyone.